What's up, y'all? Carmen here. I am back today with another solo episode of the Love, Life, and Teach podcast. But guess what, girl? This is our first video episode. I'm trying something new with the podcast, and to be quite honest, I love it here. I do. Absolutely love it. Teaching and life, being a mother raising these two boys, has had me in somewhat of a chokehold, especially with the teenager getting ready to go to high school. All of the end of the year field trips, the concerts, the moving on ceremonies, all of it. And if you follow me on Instagram, you'll know all that. But you'll also see that I've been over there on my Instagram way more than I've been showing up here for the podcast. But that's okay. Give your girl some grace. I'm back. And I have a new 4-part series for you all about self-love. That's right. For the next 4 episodes, we are going to talk all about self-love. Now, let's rewind just a little bit. If you missed the last episode, we talked about leveraging your self-awareness. Now, if you missed the last episode, I need you to go listen to it. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Podcasts. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts. It's even on my website. Go check out the last episode. So today, I want to share how you can become more self-aware. In order to practice self-love, you have to become more self-aware. Self-love starts with deeply understanding you and how you receive love so that you can show yourself that love. Well, you have to be self-aware if you're going to understand the way that you receive love. But before we get into the ways that you can become more self-aware, I think I want to define self-awareness for you. Self-awareness is our own ability to recognize our thoughts, our feelings, and our behaviors and how they impact our lives and the people around us. When talking about self-awareness, that involves knowing what your strengths are, knowing what your weaknesses are, understanding your core values, and your world view. When we become more self-aware, it helps us to determine the areas that we need to improve upon so that we can take swift action to achieve our goals. So let's get into how you can become more self-aware. The first way that you can become more self-aware is to explore your values and beliefs. Honey, your core values are necessary. They give you direction when it comes to your overall vision for yourself. We've been talking about vision on my Instagram a lot. They should guide your decisions and give you a sense of direction, fulfillment, and authenticity. And it's okay to reevaluate your core values often. I actually took the time to reevaluate mine recently, and I've got a list for you. My core values are faith, because y'all know I love God, family, love them too, abundant living, wealth, authenticity, freedom, and creativity. Love a creative project. That's a lot, I know. But knowing my core values helps me to understand the things that I want to make a priority in my life. My decisions directly relate to those values. If I know personally that I value my freedom, then I'm not going to accept a job. I'm not going to accept any type of new position. I'm not going to accept anything else that impacts my ability to be free or takes away from any freedom that I already have. Since I value authenticity, I'm going to give it to you straight all the time. And you are going to, without a doubt, know, Carmen, Because, I don't mind being vulnerable and sharing the things that I'm not so great at, as well as the things that I'm great at. But you're like, Carmen, what does any of this even have to do with self-love? Your values are going to directly impact the way that you receive love and the way that you show love to yourself. Self love means that you don't accept anything that is outside of those values because you love yourself too much. Honey, you got to love you. You love yourself too much to accept anything less than what you really deserve and what you realize you deserve. The second way that you can become more self aware is to understand your strengths and your weaknesses. Operating in your strengths is going to help you to become the happiest and most fulfilled. Plus, you thrive there. In the same light, understanding your weaknesses helps you realize what you need to ask for help. Knowing when to ask for help is important. As much as you try, you can't do everything. So it is important to know what you aren't great at so you can find someone who is and they can help you. Here's an example. I took the Clifton Strength Finders. And if you have not taken the Clifton Strength Finders assessment, I highly recommend that you do it so that you can figure out what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and start to delegate. But in those, when I took that assessment, I realized that my top category is strategic thinking. Out of my top 10 strengths, 5 of them were in that strategic thinking category. I also know that what my weaknesses are from taking that assessment. So I know that execution, not really one of my strengths. So that might be something that I delegate to someone else or hire out for just to make sure that things in my business and things in my life get done. It's important to know what you're great at so that you can find help. Please, please, please take some time to figure out what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are. And if you need help discovering those things, then get a therapist, get a life coach. Any of those professions, any of those individuals can help you, but knowing your strengths and weaknesses is important. Also, knowing your strengths and weaknesses is an act of self-compassion. Answer this. Why is it that we show so much compassion to other people, but we struggle to show compassion to ourselves? If that's you, it's time to reflect. You deserve every bit of compassion as any and everything else in this world. Self-compassion itself is an act of self-love. We have got to start giving ourselves grace. Honey, give yourself some grace. We know deep down how awesome we are, but sometimes we forget, and that's okay. That's okay, because it doesn't last long. You forget for a second, and then you're like, oh, wait, nope, I'm that girl. Understand that not everything will go the way that you desire to go, and that's okay. Give yourself grace and show yourself the compassion that you deserve. So, first, you're going to tap into your core values. Then, you're going to identify your strengths and weaknesses. The final way that you can begin to increase your self awareness is to seek out opportunities for personal growth and then embrace them. It is so uncomfortable sometimes when we seek out opportunities for personal growth, but we have to stretch ourselves. Like, we have got to start stretching ourselves so that we can grow. You could try new activities or step all the way, like leap outside of your comfort zone. Action brings clarity. So stepping outside of your comfort zone will bring you clarity about the activities that you do and don't like. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. This includes certain activities that are going to help you to practice self love. Trying out various activities will help you determine what you like, what you don't like, so you can do more of the things that you like. My 4-year-old said to me yesterday, I love horseshoes. We had a cookout, and horseshoes was one of the games. And so he says to me before he even like knew what horseshoes was, he said, I love horseshoes. And I was like, oh, really? Have you played before? And he was like, well, no. And then I was like, but then how do you know you love it? Well, I don't know. And then you know what? He went and tried horseshoes, and he was like, nope, this ain't for me. Because he was like, he couldn't get the thing. He couldn't throw it far enough, so he didn't like it anymore. You have to try out activities so that you can determine what you like, what you don't like, and do more of what you like. Just like my 4-year-old, I've tried many activities. So, as an act of self love, I know that spending time at home doing a creative activity, doing a creative project, anything at home that fills me, that gets me excited, that is an act of self love for me. So, I know that your girl has to start doing more of that stuff. You have to determine what that is for you. And again, if you are stuck trying to figure it out, see a life coach, see a therapist, read a book, or just start taking action. Action brings clarity. Self-awareness is super important, y'all, especially when helping you determine strategies to practice self-love. I have enjoyed this conversation. Join me back in the next episode where we're going to expand this conversation about love and self love. See you next time.